Okay, folks. Thanks very much, everybody. Everybody outside, if you want to make your way in, we'll kick off the proceedings shortly. I think looking at the numbers today, it's really just a testimony to my dad. He would have been absolutely delighted, he would have been absolutely tickled the fact that if they could put out more tables and cutlery and all that kind of thing. So I think that's fantastic. I think we're in for a good time, reminiscing and celebrating his life. So on behalf of the family, I'd like to thank you all for coming out today to pay your respects and celebrate the life of Tommy Kilroy, our dad. Thanks to Father Magaki. Is he here today? Is he here? It's too busy for it. Father Magaki for the beautiful Mass and all his support this past couple of weeks. Along with the cantor and the choir, I thought were fantastic today. It was a beautiful Mass. Also John Donnelly and his team at Heritage Funeral Parlour for organising everything so smoothly at what was such a difficult time for us recently. So if you bear with me just for a few minutes, I'd like to share our memories of what was a remarkable man. Tommy was a larger-than-life character. He was the undoubted patriarch of the Kilroy clan. Like a typical mafia godfather, it was all about the family to Tommy. He was such a family man. He was so devoted to them, his wider relatives and his friends. He was the cement that kept us all together. My mother, Maureen Rice, was born, she was one of 10. She was brought up in Springboyd in Glasgow in the East End. One by one, 5 of her siblings emigrated to America, mainly to the East Coast, New York, Connecticut, Virginia. And as they married and as they multiplied, the Rice clan grew in Scotland and America quite considerably. We had a large extended family throughout the world, about 70 cousins with our kids and grandkids, and the wider family extended to more than 200. And we're delighted to have Terry over from South Africa today as well. Thanks very much, Terry, for making the journey over. Tommy could tell you the names of every one of them. He even remembered and made sure to recognise their birthdays. But all us younger ones can't remember. There's too many of them, too many cousins and kids and grandkids and all that. He was able to recite them all off. That's just how remarkable the man was. He kept in touch regularly with my mother's brothers and sisters in the States, even 21 years after her passing. Every couple of weeks he would phone them for a catch-up. And remember, this was my mum's direct family that he married into, but he was the rock that kept everyone together and in regular contact. Dad was a very clever and intelligent man. He was very well read, knowledgeable, about every subject you could imagine. He was also a bit of a maverick. He had an independent mind. He didn't just go with the flow. He accepted norms. He relished being the rebel, the alternative thinker, of being different. As kids, we were never allowed, Joe or me, were never allowed a Celtic top. He supported Hibs. I think I can count on one hand the amount of Glaswegian Hibernian supporters are. But he was one of them. He'd go on and on about the famous Hibs team of the 50s, the famous 5, Turnbull and Riley and whoever else, I can't remember them. Joe and me used to pester him every birthday, every Christmas. Oh, Dad, I want a Celtic strip. Give me the Celtic top, come on. Ah, Celtic and Rangers. I wouldn't cross the road to watch them, he would say. Every year it was, come on, Dad, please, it's no fair. All my pals have got one. It wasn't until much later that I got to the bottom of his dislike of both Celtic and Rangers. And it's not what you think. It was about his stomach. To explain, when I was a young cub reporter back in the day, he'd be asked to write up a report on a particular football match, 250 words or 500 words for a newspaper's sports section. It was mainly juniors and lower league teams like Stenhouse Muir versus Alloa or whatever. After a while, you'd get more senior games, and he said it was great having a press pass. He'd go to the likes of Hamilton, Partick Thistle, Third Lanark, St Mirren. They'd take him through to the boardroom where he'd be treated like a king. Sandwiches, pies, cakes, scones, Bovril, Coca-Colas. He was spoiled rotten at those grounds. He loved it. He was well looked after. Help yourself, son. Write something good about us, they would say. The Celtic and Rangers, miserable peas. Not even a cup of tea. My dad liked his grub. He was known for his big cheery smile and his flashing white teeth. They weren't real though. They were dentures. Full set, top and bottom. He was very proud of them. He was a bit of a joker, and he got into all sorts of mischief with those teeth. He used to bounce the grandkids on his knee as they faced him, and he'd sing them songs and nursery rhymes. They used to love it. They'd be laughing out loud until all of a sudden he'd stick his teeth out. He'd pull his face into a grimace with some demented gargoyle. The poor ways were horrified. In one instance, they went from giggling away to screaming blue murder. And he thought that was hilarious. I don't think there was any one of the grandkids or great-grandkids that didn't experience that trauma at some point. It always tickled them. There was one time my mum and him were travelling back from the holiday of a lifetime from Hawaii. They had to stop off in Los Angeles, LAX, to wait for their connecting flight. Not long before boarding, the announcement came that their flight had been overbooked. The airline was looking for volunteers to offboard and catch the next available connection the following day. They offered a free overnight stay and a nice hotel at something like $200 each for the trouble. Now, anyone that remembers my mother, she was like a female bellboy trotter. Always on the lookout for a bargain or making a deal, buying and selling. She was always on the ball for an opportunity. Straight away, Maureen puts her hand up. "We'll have some of that, Tommy," she says. "An extra day's holiday, they'll all be paid for. Nice one." So they were off boarded, put in a taxi, and booked into this nice big hotel in Los Angeles. The hotel had a conference centre attached to it, and there was a conference at the same time. It was for the Orthodontists Association of America. After their meal, my mum and dad got into the lift to head back to their room. There was a large elevator, and before the doors closed, the lift was invaded with a number of delegates from the conference. My dad laughed and smiled at something my mum said. Then a lady delegate, Amy from Oklahoma or something, according to her name badge, she looked at my dad and she said to him in her broad American accent, "Excuse me, sir, I hope you don't mind me saying, but you have a beautiful smile and the most perfect teeth. Can I ask, who did your cosmetic work?" "Nah, hen," he said, "they're no real. They're just good old-fashioned Glasgow valleys." My mother said the poor lady was mortified and proceeded to stick them out to prove it to her. I can only imagine the look on her face. He was a joker and full of mischief. One time we went to pick up my mum at her work, and she came out with some of her workmates, and she gave a bit of a ticking off later for being quite shabbily dressed. My dad did have his own unique sense of style. His dress sense was something to behold. It's not the first time that East Kilroy shops have been subjected to see an elderly man dressed in white capri pants, brown Jesus sandals with black socks, and a garish Hawaiian shirt. We used to be mortified with him. The next time we picked her up from work in the car, he was fully dressed in a tuxedo with a green velvet jacket, white shirt, and dicky bow. My mother could only laugh. As we all know, Maureen was taken from him much too early, at only 16 years old. This had a huge impact on his life, as they were so close. They did everything together. I remember one day, not long after he retired, my mum was in the kitchen, moaning about him constantly under her feet while she was trying to cook. Tommy, she said to me, get that big idiot out my hair for a bit. He's in my way. I says, come on, Dad. How do you fancy me taking you out for a game of golf now that you're retired? It's a great game. You'll love it. What? He says, being away from your ma for more than 4 hours? Oh no, son, I couldn't do that. I'd miss her too much. That's how close they were. Just joined at the hip. It was the strongest marriage I've ever seen. So when she passed, after a long illness, he was completely lost without her. But thanks to the support of his close, lifelong friends, like the Maltman crew and the love of the family, he slowly but surely got his life back. He would visit her graveside almost every day, but he'd also keep himself busy elsewhere. So busy, in fact, he almost had to make an appointment to see him. He delighted in sharing his itinerary with you for the coming week and how busy he was. So Monday, I'm at the doctor's after the gym. Tuesday, I'm seeing so-and-so for lunch. Wednesday, hospital appointment after Mass. Thursday, lunchtime with the Maltman crew, etc., etc., etc. His days were filled and his life was full. He did say, I may be alone, but I'm never lonely. He had his 3 F's: faith, family, and friends. A while later, he started going to the gym at the John Wright Sports Centre, and this became almost a daily occurrence. He was kidding himself on, though. I've never seen anyone slower on a cross trainer or a rowing machine. He even had an exercise bike in his living room, and he'd sit on it and watch TV. Often he'd combine this with eating a rolling sausage at the same time. He would just amble along at a snail's pace. At least it was getting his muscles and joints moving, I suppose. He started going to some classes too. I remember he was going to his first class. I can't remember if it was yoga, Pilates, or Tai Chi, or whatever. Later, I asked him how he got on. He was the oldest member there by far, surrounded by a bevy of young females. It was good, son. I enjoyed it, he said. Mind you, I'm so slow and stiff. The others in the class have turned round 3 times before I turned round once. Then at the end of the class, we had to lie down on these mats to unwind for 5 minutes. They put on this relaxing music. It was quail music. The next thing I knew, the poor wee lassie teacher was shaking my shoulder. Mr. Kilroy, are you alright? Everyone had left the class and he was snoring away on the mat. The poor lassie will probably never forget that. He did embarrass himself, but that tickled him. But he's used to being embarrassed with that, and he just laughs it off. He was a bit of a celebrity in the John Wright Sports Centre, and we're so grateful to the staff. They made him so welcome. They even sent a lovely card when he passed there. Dad was a big man in more ways than one. And when he sneezed, my God, what a roar he would make. Not sure how many decibels it was, but geez, oh, it was so loud. It was one of those achoo type of sneezes, long and drawn out. He did this fairly regularly. You absolutely crapped yourself. Many years ago, we went to Mass. It was a really busy one, Good Friday or Easter Sunday or something. St. Bride's was rammed, standing room only at the back, and up top was full too. We'd managed to get a pew upstairs in the balcony and slide along to the end of the row. There was Dad at the end, then my mum, then me and a few others. It was great up there for people watching. I don't think you noticed it, St. Bride's, the balcony up the top there. It was great for people watching. You could look down at the assembled throng and smashing for seeing everybody. As mentioned, Tommy took his faith very seriously. But at a particular point in the proceedings, when things had gone silent, all of a sudden he lets out this massive roar, and what was probably the loudest sneeze ever. Everyone got the fright of their lives. And at the very same time, the top half of his wallies shot out at an exocet silent. Those bloody teeth again. They proceeded to fly over the balcony and they smashed in two with a loud crack on the concrete floor below. Hundreds of people in the congregation stared up in awe. I've never seen him so mortified. For 2 full weeks, he looked and spoke like Albert Steptoe until he could get them replaced. Oh, how we laughed. Tommy's had a great life. He mentioned to me about 6 months ago, "Do you know, son, I've now been retired longer than I actually worked." How good is that? What a retirement that is. His passing was really sudden and unexpected. He was right as rain right up until the end. Just the day before, I brought him up some homemade soup, and he had his usual steady stream of visitors from the rest of the family too. He was active, still driving, still very much compos mentis right up to the end. So it was a shock to us all. We didn't expect it. We weren't ready for it. Selfishly, we all wanted to have one last Christmas with him. But it wasn't to be. It was Tommy Kilroy being the Maverick again. It's like he wanted to get to his mooring as soon as possible. Thank God it was quick and painless. If Carol could do the perfect passing, this was probably as close to that as you can get. The family have been inundated with loads of heartfelt messages from family and friends, from Ireland, England, Australia, South Africa, Canada, the USA, of course, and right across the world. And we're so grateful and we really do appreciate them. So thank you very much for that. Obviously, I can't read them all out, I will be here for hours, but I'll share just 2 or 3 with you before I close. 2 or 3 of the many. Know that you and your family are in our hearts and prayers as you process the shock and grief of losing your dad, our favourite Uncle Tommy, so suddenly. They say that you can choose your friends but not your family, but I can honestly say that I would choose your dad to be my uncle, hands down, every time. You'll always have a special place in my heart, and my visits to Scotland won't be the same without a wee lunch date with Uncle Tommy. He had a huge heart that he shared with us, his extended family, nieces, nephews, and their families. What a memory he had. He could name everyone's kids. That was from our cousin Eileen and all the Tates in Canada. Next one. Your father was 1 in a million with a heart of gold. I can just imagine that great smile he always had on his face as he meets your beautiful mum, along with all the lovely family that have passed away. What a perfect Christmas for all of them. No more illness, no hurts, no more missing the love of his life, just them loving each other. And that was from cousin Patsy and Bill in Virginia. And the last one, we were so sad to hear about the loss of your dad. He was such a special person and will be missed by so many. I don't think your dad was a stranger to anyone. I have such fond memories of him and remember him constantly talking about all of you. He was so proud of his family. Heaven has welcomed a new angel, and your dad will now be together with your mum, the love of his life. I'm sure my dad, who loved Tommy like a brother, will also be waiting with open arms. Again, cousin Marianne and Tom from Virginia. So, to close, Tommy Kilroy, Dad, he leaves us with a lifetime of cherished memories. He was an inspiration in how one should live their lives. He had a good life, he had a full life here, but he's now where he ultimately belongs, back beside our wee Maureen. His absence will leave a massive void in our lives, but my God, what a legacy he's left. So one last time, I'm going to ask you all just to be upstanding, to toast him, as we say, rest in peace, Tommy. Thank you. Thanks very much, guys. I think we're just about to lunch there. Hopefully everybody's got a seat, everybody's got a set of cutlery and everything else, and we'll get right on to it. Thank you.